Hello there, this is BK on the air, here to tell you that if you hear the telephone number, please don't call, because this is a rebroadcast.
It's easy to grin when your ship comes in and you've got the stock market beat. But the man worthwhile is the man who can smile when his shorts are too tight in the seat.
Hey, good morning. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. We're having a go. Ooh, there we go. Yeah. I couldn't hear my headphones there for a second, and now I do. It's like I've been deaf and I've been given the gift of hearing.
What did Scotty say? The more fancy the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain.
Yeah, I don't need a lot of fancy stuff. I just want it to work.
It's amazing what happens when just one button doesn't get pushed.
I just want it to work. That's all I ask. I mean, it's a new board, but we're finding out that it is a really new board.
Oh, it's a great board, though. I will tell you, I'm not.
Great, yeah.
It's
don't
just
knock it.
There's just a handful of additional features we're still worming our way up
I'm
to.
not knocking it. Believe me. I mean, I am very grateful for the beautiful transporter room, the board that looks like the Enterprise transporter from Star Trek with all the blinky, flashy lights and the sliders and the things. You know, the one thing that. Speaking of that technology, and I didn't know this when I first saw Star Wars in 1977, when they cut to the scene of the Death Star about to fire its ultimate weapon to destroy Alderaan, it shows the control board with the Imperial people in there about to turn the beam on to destroy it. And they pull
Charging the batteries.
Yeah, they pull this big lever back, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. It looks neat. Back in the 70s, I thought it was really cool. Then later on, I found out working in video, I'm like, that's a video fader on a video board.
Oh, yeah. It's a television studio.
That's great. But who knows? We didn't know at the time. We didn't know at the time. Now, if somebody knew that watching Star Wars in the 70s, oh, that's a fader lever.
What's
from a
great
board.
is George Lucas knew how many people really were ever involved in TV video production.
Not a lot.
The rest of us went, wow, look at that. You've got like all these military personnel charging the gun batteries.
The rest of us did exactly what he thought we were going to do. We thought it was cool. We had no idea
You
what
add
it
that
was.
sound design, you hear that, boom, like, oh, wow, this is for real.
Then all of a sudden, the weather forecaster Alderaan was, for a moment,
1 billion degrees.
really sunny and 1 billion degrees.
You never think about as a kid, who's the dummy who was told, stand on the gangplank there, and then you have to turn away from the energy because it's so hot.
There's no nothing's going to happen to you. There's no residual effects.
Why
to
would
your
someone
body.
stand in front of
the
one of the
Empire
beams?
Doesn't care. They're just going to tell you to do your job.
You know what?
You're just fodder for us.
We'll just conscript more followers.
That's right. We'll make more clones or whatever we have to do to make it work. Hey, it's BK on the air. Good morning.
Oh yeah, good morning.
I got a lot to talk about. Hey, just so we get around to it eventually, that's fine, saying good morning or whatever. We'll eventually say it. It's a new year. It's the new show of the new year, 2023. Happy New Year. Last show, we did a show on New Year's Eve, which was last Saturday, and it was fun to have. You know, it was really cool, and I know you think so, too. It was really cool to have both of our shows on Saturday take place on Christmas Eve and then New Year's Eve. That was kind of fun. I liked that.
That won't happen again for 7 years.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be around. I'm planning on it being somewhere 7 years from now. I don't know where I'll be, but as you know, you and I know, working in radio, things can come to an end very quickly. Don't know what hit you. A lot of people have worked in radio and they come in, go to work, go home today, and then come in the next day and like,
wait, the door locked?
Why is my card not working on the door? Why can I not get into the station? We've changed format to all German polka music, and we don't need you anymore.
We've been purchased as now the Latin American Sports Network. Wait,
We
what?
don't need your, can you speak Spanish? You can't get in the building then. No, sorry.
Pedro assista de
That just happens a lot sometimes. And it's sad because unless you're really well liked or well known, your last day on the radio is your last day because they don't want you on the air on your last day because they don't know what you're going to say because you don't have any price to pay. It's like, it's my last day. Who cares? I'll say what I want. That's what they're afraid of, a lot of people. But some people get to have that last broadcast. So if you're big enough,
I guess it depends whether you're leaving on your terms or theirs.
Right. And even then, if it's still your last day, you can say whatever you want. What are they going to do? Get him off, pull him off the air. Kind of reminds me of the scene in the Shawshank Redemption where Tim Robbins' character, he loves opera music and he doesn't get to listen to it in prison anymore. So he goes into the warden's office, locks the door, puts on a beautiful opera record and puts it on the PA system and lets it play throughout the entire prison. And they have a fit, trying to get him out, and then knocking on the door. Dufresne, open the door. But for a moment, he had a moment of just pure peaceful joy listening to the operatic aria that was being sung.
That moment when you think he's going to cave.
Yeah.
And he leans forward, and before taking it off, he turns
He's like,
it up.
No, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to pay for this.
If I'm going to
wanna
get a
paid.
beating, I'm going to earn it.
Now, my dad always joked about it, but he never did, and he never would do it. And he goes, I can't believe these people that will rob a bank and go steal money and stuff, and then they'd go to jail forever, like for stealing $1,000 or $5,000. He goes, if I'm going to pay for it for the rest of my life, I'm going to risk it big, and I'm going to go for the big heist of like $1 billion or something like that. Way, if I get it, it's going to be great. But if I don't, I'm like, $1 billion, it was worth it. So go big or go broke, right? Isn't that the saying?
Go broke, go big or go big or go home.
Go home, okay.
Yeah.
What was one about broke? I don't know what it was. But last year, we like to talk about, a few years ago, I started this little tradition on the show where I like to talk about 40 and 50 years ago, because I kind of keep it within that range.
It's a nice rolling window.
Yeah, because if I go back 60 years ago or 100 years ago, there's not a lot of people left that's going to remember that. Hey, did you know we're going to talk today about the invention of the steam engine and talk about it for 30 minutes? I'm like, no, it's a little too far back. It's an amazing piece of equipment, but I'm not going to talk about that. But this year, it's 2023. So now we're going to discuss, I'll sneak it in every now and then, 1973, which was 50 years ago. Geez, was that really when I started first grade?
Feel worse? I can
started
say
first grade.
Half a century.
Did I start the first grade a half a century ago? Oh, my goodness.
I'd rather say 50 years.
Yeah, let's just say 50.
It may mean the same.
Let's just say 25 times 2. That even sounds even
there
better.
There you go.
And 1983.
5 decades ago.
Still sounds better than the other one.
Than half a century.
Half a century. 1983. That's the year I was a junior in high school. I hadn't even graduated yet, so I was a junior 40 years ago. And today I'm going to play this little best of Billboard's greatest hits from 1983. It's like a little string of all the songs. It's just like their choruses all put together. It's not the whole song. And when you hear them pop up, you might go, yeah, okay, I remember that one. And then one will hit you and you're like, oh my goodness, really? That one was 40? Because that's what I was doing this morning preparing for the show. I'm like, that song was 40 years ago? I remember the movie Flashdance, which was a big hit in the theater.
Mm-hmm. Super huge song.
40 years ago, this year, 1983, Flashdance.
Irene Cara was everywhere when that movie came out with that song. She was performing at every award show. She was singing that song.
And it turned Jennifer Beals into a superstar for a while. And then I didn't really see her again until The Mandalorian, or the Book of Boba Fett. She came back as the saloon cantina gal or whatever with the big tentacles in her head, like one of the Jabba ladies, Jabba the Hutt. By the way, we got a lot of response last episode of us equating all the laughs, the ho-ho-ho Santa Claus and the Jabba laugh and the Jolly Green Giant laugh, and they're like, oh, they all ho-ho-hos. And it was people were laughing and putting on YouTube like, that's hilarious. I hadn't even thought about that. I'm like, it's what we're here for. That's what we're here
We
for.
fill in those little little crevices
those little ho-ho-hos.
you didn't know you needed filled
I could
in.
really go for some ho-hos right now. It'd be nice. Just become there, Golden Razor TV when we come back.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The way some business people spend their time has very little to do with a clock. At Apple, we understand that business as usual isn't anymore. That's why we make the most advanced personal computers in the world. And why soon there'll be just 2 kinds of people.
Hi.
Those who use computers.
Yeah, I'll be home for breakfast.
And those who use apples.
Me and Barbie are having a dinner party.
You and Barbie, glamorous Barbie townhouse.
Wow, 3 floors.
All 6 rooms have a modern look. You can help Barbie arrange the living room.
Ken's cooking in the kitchen.
The Superstar Barbie and Ken doll set is sold separately.
Barbie changed for dinner. Elevator's going up.
You and Barbie, glamorous Barbie townhouse.
The Barbie townhouse has a play elevator, 6 rooms, and all this furniture. Assembly required. From Mattel.
Sorry, miss. I was giving myself an oil job.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. The Saturday morning cartoon Super Friends aired with multiple titles from 1973 to 86, and at the time, they were the most powerful superheroes ever assembled. Inspired by DC Comics' Justice League of America, they originally included Superman, Batman and Robin, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. The cartoon also took an extra step of incorporating two teenaged hero apprentices and their dog. Although Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog had no superpowers, their comedic presence was reportedly to help younger audiences identify more with the show. The superhero franchise had fallen to the wayside by the early 1970s, but in 1972, a couple of Saturday morning cartoons changed this perception. CBS's new Scooby-Doo movies guest starred Batman and Robin, and of all shows, ABC's The Brady Kids guest starred Wonder Woman and Aquaman. ABC noticed the potential and joined forces with Hanna-Barbera to create the Super Friends. Some other superheroes from the DC universe made cameos on the show. For example, The Flash and the Green Lantern. As an early example of diversity, their guest heroes also included Apache Chief, El Dorado, Black Vulcan, and Samurai. The cartoon featured a dynamic assortment of voice actors, such as Ted Knight, Olan Soule, Casey Kasem, and Shannon Farnan. With the advent of the $6 Million Man and the Wonder Woman live-action shows, Hanna-Barbera became reluctant to continue production. Retitling it multiple times seemed to be their response. But the fact is, what made Super Friends unique was that instead of violence like their comic book counterparts, humor and teamwork became their main weapons to successfully battle villains. This is Pat McCormick with your Retro TV trivia from the Golden Rage of TV. You can also find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Golden Rage of TV, and on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. Also, check out my new Retro TV Trivia podcast, available on Anchor and Apple Podcasts platforms. And now back to BK on the air.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman, and those 3 junior super friends, Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
Do you remember what the Legion of Doom building looked like?
Was it like a skull? Like a domed skull that
like
came up?
Darth Vader's head.
Oh, I guess it did.
When you look at it,
like
it had the little triangular breathing mask thing at the bottom. I'm like, were they bar a little bit from
loosely homage?
But it just looked evil. That,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the big thing. And everybody that's bad, that's why they live in a swamp.
What did the Hall of Justice look like? It was this beautiful granite, lovely building. This
huge glass windows
with the white columns and everything. It just looked wonderful like that. And there's a city hall somewhere. I don't know where it is in America.
It's in Georgia.
Is it in Georgia that looks like the Hall of Justice? Is it Duluth or Buford? One of those towns in Georgia has a city hall.
And apparently, when I posted something about this, you would think I'd remember. But there's someone who came back and goes, "Oh, there's a couple that are loosely based." And you go look at the you're like, "Holy crap!" Some architect who was probably our age was asked to design a building, and they go, "Well, I remember Super Friends, the Hall of Justice."
Wait till they get a load of this. That's great. It's going to look great, because you want your people to be thought of as superheroes. The Super Friends, by the way, there are some characters on there. I don't know if I get them all right, but some of them were never comic book characters. The twins, the Wonder Twins were never in the comic book. That was a cartoon invention or whatever. The little dog that the boy and girl had with the little cape on, he wanted to be super. He was an invention too. He wasn't part of it.
What was that dog's name?
And I think there was one. What was the one hero that was the Indian, the Native American one? What was he? He was not a comic book character. If I'm not mistaken, he was not one either in the comic book. They created him for that.
I don't
remember
his name.
I'd have to look it up. But you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
DC had that too, because when DC, I don't think you still haven't seen Batman the Animated Series. Have you seen it? Have you watched it? It's great. Do yourself a favor. If you want to binge watch something this year, check it out. I'm sure it's on HBO Max, because that's Warner Brothers. Check it out. Harley Quinn, you've heard of that character?
Yeah, she was created.
She was created for. She was in the animated series. That's where they made her. Then they put her in the comic and made her a real character. That was a different reason. That one went on to be so popular that they added her to the comic books.
Right.
And she's a very popular character. A lot of ladies and gals dress up as her all the time, like at Dragon Con and stuff. So they want that look of Harley Quinn. Apache Chief, thank you.
Apache
exactly
Chief.
Right. He was not a comic book character. Now I don't think they even added him to the comics later, but he was not a comic book character. That's right. I knew we'd think of it eventually. We would have looked it up later, but are you like me now? The last thing I want to do now is look something up. If I can remember it on my own, I'll try to do that first, because I need that brain exercise. I need to work at it.
I want to make sure that I'm doing that.
And
I have learned, by the way, I don't know if this works for everybody. I've learned if I just start saying some random other names, it seems to access the area of my brain where all the other names are that I can't recall.
Thank goodness.
So I'm like, okay, Hank, Frank, Frank Stank, Frank the Stank, Frank the Pig, Apache Chief.
I have a package here for Tony Stank. Tony Stank. Yeah, that's Tony Stank right here. Here he is. I need a man to hug and kiss.
Folks, I need a man to hug and kiss.
Yeah, Prince Albert the can. Better let him out before he suffocates.
How did I spend my youth before caller ID?
We just reverted back. Talk about nostalgia. We just reverted back to what we did because we didn't have cell phones and computers to distract us.
Nope.
So,
but that all, like I said, that all came to an end with caller ID.
Yep, and you never. And it was a crapshoot because you didn't know who had it and who didn't. Right. That's like that time we decided, oh, that's a cool song by Tommy Two-Tone, 867-5309. Let's call that and ask for Jenny. That'll be fun. Got to dial it up, over there where I'm living, growing up as a kid. Hello. Hey, can we speak to Jenny? And I'm sure we said something obnoxious too about Jenny or whatever, or questioned her innocence or something like that. He's like, that ain't funny. There ain't no Jenny here, and I know who you are. I got caller ID. We hung up.
Just like, hang on, because that'll erase it.
He didn't call back, so nothing happened, so we didn't get in trouble. So, yeah, we should not have called 867-5309. I do have a lot of news to get to today. Let's get to this first story. This one happened already, but this is kind of the follow-up to it. One of our Avengers had an accident this past week. Hawkeye Jeremy Renner and his snowplow accident. This particular follow-up comes from Newsweek. Actor Jeremy Renner has begun interacting with fans and giving updates on his condition after a frightening accident he had. On January the 1st, New Year's Day, it was reported that the Hawkeye star, who's 51 now, by the way, he's only a year older than you, a little less than a year older than you are. Mm-hmm. You know that? I thought he was, I don't know why I thought he was older than that. He was in critical condition in a hospital on New Year's Day after an accident while plowing snow at his Lake Tahoe home. Renner was airlifted to Reno, an area hospital, after suffering blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries. And he lost a lot of blood, too, from what I hear, in attempting to clear snow from his driveway per his representatives. And he has since undergone surgery.
Yeah, apparently what happened, actually a family friend got stuck. And he had this big, giant snowplow that they would use, and he was pushing the car out, but when he got out, it started to roll.
So, in other words, he's a superhero, and he's trying to help somebody. That's
the problem is whether the brake failed or he didn't engage it properly. Yeah. He thought he could jump in and stop it and ended up getting run over.
Yeah, and when I heard that, shades of Anton Yelchin came back in, the Chekhov from Star Trek. It kind of felt, I kind of thought
What's
about that.
crazy is this, whatever this snowcat, whatever this thing is, the article I read, it's a 12,000-pound piece of equipment.
Oh, yeah. I looked at the
fact he's alive is amazing.
It is. A quote says that he has returned from surgery on January 2nd and remains in the intensive care unit, critical but stable condition. And I think that's a little outdated now because this particular story came out yesterday. It says, following his surgery, Renner has started posting glimpses of the extent of his injuries, and I saw it on Instagram and some of his social media accounts, as well as giving updates on his recovery. In his first social media message post-accident, Renner asked fans for their support and admitted that he was struggling to share things online in his state at the time. Quote, "Thank you for all your kind words," he wrote on an Instagram page alongside a prayer emoji, adding, "I'm too messed up now to type, but I'm sending love to you all," unquote. And then the message was posted as a caption to a selfie of Renner in his hospital bed where some of his injuries are visible on the side of his face. He is also wearing a tube attached to his nose, likely for supplemental oxygen in the photo. So, yes, all the best to him. That was just, you hear stuff like that, and you're like, oh, man, Again, we feel we know these people because they're actors and actresses, and we're so familiar with him because I just watched Hawkeye.
He's been
for Christmas.
He's been in my home theater room hanging out with me many, many times.
And he was one of those characters. Him and the Black Widow, which they obviously knew each other in the comics and had a history in that continuity. They were two characters when they announced they were going to be in the Avengers and be characters in the MCU when they were universe building. I'm like, well, why is Hawkeye and Black Widow in there? Because they were kind of really minor characters. I don't know why they'd add them because they're not really superheroes. They're more like humans with super abilities and very they're one of those. They're like Batman. They're at the tip top of human condition. They're in perfect shape, zero body fat, trained. Can do amazing things brain-wise and muscle-wise. And they wound up being two of the best characters to follow with personality. And I love Hawkeye. He wound up being just a fantastic character. It's like Ant-Man. Minor character in Marvel, but spectacular character in the MCU. What they've done with him is great.
I think that's one of the most intelligent thoughts moving through this arc that we often talk about because it reminds us that not everybody comes from another planet or it has some kind of a radioactive power. And it makes us all realize, well, maybe if I work to be the best I can be, I could be a hero too. And you know what? You can. Everyone can.
And some people, and a lot of people have just become heroes by either accident or working at it, working hard. And we got everyday heroes surrounding us every day in police and fire and
absolutely
and, hospitals.
That's
and
exactly where I was going with
lives
that.
And even volunteers. Heck, a 80 or 90-year-old human being volunteering to do something can be a hero. And I've had a few heroes in my family in World War I and World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I think I've had some folks on my dad's side of the family that served in a lot of conflicts, including, World War I. My great granddad. Speaking on there, we'll be back.
We'll return after these announcements.
Announcing Dollar Days at Turtles, with Turtles Top 100 singles at 4 for $5. Plus dollar-saving deals on VASF 60 and 90-minute audio tape, and VHS and beta videotape at $6 each.
Explore the far reaches of the universe with the Starship Enterprise and Wendy's. Because right now, with the purchase of a Wendy's Fun Pack meal, you'll receive a free Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan movie poster. Imagine it. You get just the right size Wendy's hamburger, French fries, and soft drink or Frosty, plus this exciting color wall poster free. So beam yourself to Wendy's for a Fun Pack meal that's truly out of this world. But be careful. The Wrath of Khan awaits you.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be celebrating 1983 and 1973 coming up this year with BK on the Air. As 40 years ago and 50 years ago. And they're both little installments there, but this is not the past right now. Right now we like to do what we call Flash the Audience of the News, the Weird and the Strange, the Bizarre. These are usually like things that have just happened within the last, week or so, or just yesterday or today. So
but yet they all fit appropriately in this show.
Yeah, one way or the other. For good or bad, pro or con.
Well, guess what? For 2023, I have the very first.
Yes.
I didn't even say news yet.
I know, but
you jumped the gun.
I'd rather be early with it than late because I was late with it a couple of times last year. What?
A hotel chain Travelodge has revealed the most unusual items left behind at its British locations in 2022, including a pair of Japanese chin puppies and a soccer team themed wedding cake. According to this, Travelodge, which operates 580 hotels in Britain, said some of the most unusual items to pass through its Lost and Found offices in 2022 included a pair of puppies named J-Lo and Ben.
Not stuffed animals or pound puppies, real puppies?
According to this, pair of puppies, J-Lo and Ben.
How
do you forget your puppies?
Yeah, who would you?
Bath Central location. They were left behind at its Bath Central location, and a Liverpool Football Club themed wedding cake at the Liverpool Central Strand Travelodge, where the wedding's best man had been staying. Hey man, thanks for flying all the way here to be part of the wedding. You brought the cake, right? Oh, I left it in the hotel
with the kids and two puppies.
Wait a minute, where's my wife? Dang it! I knew I was forgetting something.
I remembered the puppies, but forgot her.
Some other unusual items to be reunited with their owners included a pair of donkeys named Daisy and Duke.
Daisy and Duke, I get it.
Keys to a Sunseeker Hawk 38 powerboat, an oil painting of Queen Elizabeth II, a matching pair of Segway scooters, a 4-foot-tall model gingerbread man, a seagull, and a 6-foot-long Chinese dragon.
Okay, donkeys are huge. How do you forget the
donkeys?
First
of all, how are you checking them in? Did the night person not notice?
What are you doing with them?
Hey, I've got my bags, but I don't need you to help me. I don't need a bellboy. I've got my donkeys. I have my saddlebags. Oh, that's okay, sir. But don't take them up the elevator. They might exceed the weight. Take them up the stairs. No, I want a ground floor. Can I get a ground floor level instead? So that way
I can't do it, so I don't know why. I can't figure it out. It's illogical to me. I got the next news. And I'm sitting here on the air, and I don't really need them. But where are my glasses? I just had them. Where am I?
Thankfully, they're not on your head, so that's good.
If they're on my head, that would be bad. But I've mislaid my glasses.
I don't know.
Where did they go? I just had my glasses. Have them. I hate that. Anyway, from UPI. Police in Saskatchewan, Canada, are reminding residents not to abuse the 911 emergency line by revealing some of the most unusual calls of 2022 since it's the new year, including calls about clogged drains and unwanted voicemails. Again, here are more people that we don't get, that we'd never become. Who does this? Who does this? Well, these people, apparently. RCMP Saskatchewan released to the list of the top 10 non-emergency calls that missed the mark on 2022 by being placed by 911, including a caller who requested assistance deleting a voicemail from their phone, a caller who's
it's an emergency.
I need to get this.
I don't need my wife to hear this.
A caller whose bathtub drain was clogged, and a caller who used the emergency line to avoid being put on hold in a request for paperwork. Guess they were calling and needed that insurance paperwork from that wreck they had. And they're like, so he dials 911 and goes, I'm on hold and I don't want to stay on hold any longer. Well, you know what? You're going to get even more trouble now.
Every time I think humanity is evolving in the right direction, I'm reminded of just how far we have to go.
Don't we, though? We got a story like this. Other non-emergencies that made the list of 2022's most inappropriate 911 calls include a prank caller reporting a cougar, which turned out to be referencing the colloquial term for an attractive older woman. There's a cougar in my front yard. Mm-hmm. What do I do? Well, I got some beer and some cigarettes. A dozen roses. It's not the cougar from the woods. Well, she may be from the woods. I don't know. Another caller asked operators, quote, if they knew the name of the polite RCMP officer who served in their community. The caller was hoping for an update to see how the officer's family was doing. While well-meaning, that certainly would not be considered a 911 emergency call. Hey, is Officer Dingle doing okay? Is he all right? We just wanted to check. 911. A 911 caller reported that their roommate had eaten their takeout order. A caller also reported a hostile cat, I guess that's not a cougar, in their neighborhood. Could have been a real cougar. A caller reported that they were out of milk, and a caller reported that swallowing a mosquito who had caused them to choke and lose their dentures. There's another call to 911. Hey, I swallowed a mosquito, and I lost my teachers.
I could almost accept that if you were choking.
Right.
You swallowed your dentures.
And they were able to talk to them.
Well, maybe they were panicked about what's going to happen to them.
Albeit incoherently talking to them. Like, but remember the news flash we had of the guy whose dentures was lodged in his throat for like months and he didn't know what it was? Here's the disclaimer. Before dialing 911, please remember that calling the police should be reserved for police-related matters, and only the calling 911 should be reserved for life-threatening emergencies only. So there you go. A public service message from BK on the Air, WBHF.
And the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
That's right. You should be familiar with them, your family.
RCMPs, yep. I've got the next news.
Do they really wear red up there with the hats and everything? They still do that?
They look exactly like Dudley Do-Right.
And we were talking about, you and I off the air, we were talking about Jackie Gleason earlier.
In their Class A's.
Remember Smoking the Bandit 2, the sequel, Jackie Gleason played 3 parts. He played himself and his 2 brothers. Mm-hmm. One was a flamboyant sheriff from some other part of the U.S., and the other one was one of the Royal Mounties that he came, and he was singing a song when he drove up with his girlfriend.
So
Jackie
good.
was playing all 3 of them. It's like Gaylord and Reggie, his brothers.
It was basically the first movie redone, but it was still so much fun.
It was another one of those sequels from, it was like Jaws 2. It was a good sequel.
I enjoyed it.
That was really good.
But then you don't need to watch The next one.
Jaws 3 and Smokey the Bandit Part 3, yes, please avoid them.
Pretend they were never made.
Avoid them like they had COVID. You could catch COVID if you watched them. Don't watch them.
All right, let's get back to this. An ailing cat
Did you say news?
I did.
Oh, okay.
And then we started talking about Smokey and the Bandit.
See, I can't keep track now.
Would you let me to do it again?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got the next news.
How about that?
Which happens to be the same news. And it's the news from the UPI News. An ailing cat brought to a South Carolina animal hospital is recovering after veterinary surgeons removed 38 hair ties from the feline's stomach.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah. Some animals get this thing in their head where they want to just chew on clothes.
But you think after swallowing the first maybe 2 of them, they'll be like, this doesn't taste
my
that
daughter
good.
has learned you better make sure that you put your dirty clothes in the hamper because her dog chewed 5 pairs of her underwear, but then because there was so much cloth trapped in her stomach, she threw it all back up. She goes, not only did you ruin them, but I had to clean them up.
But I didn't want them back. You tried to give them back to me.
Later on, we watched where the other halves came from.
Oh, yes, of course. They had been dyed a different color, too, by the way.
Well,
some of them. Anyway.
The Charleston Animal Society said a cat named Juliet was brought in by a member of the public who reported the feline had been left outside a home when the former resident moved out of state. Now, I have no sympathy for people who do that nonsense. Carers noticed Juliet was becoming lethargic and not eating after a couple of weeks, and a radiograph discovered she had an unusual blockage in her stomach. Lee Jameson, Associate Director of Veterinary Care for the Charleston Animal Society, said the surgical team was stunned to discover the blockage was 38 hair ties swallowed by the cat. Jameson said Juliet is now recovering, but the blockage led to a liver condition that is now also being treated.
Yeah, Pippa got our pot hound mix. She got a hold of something out in the yard. We don't know if it was a lizard or a frog or something, but whatever it was, didn't agree with her. It might have had that poison stuff on their skin or something like that. I can't remember what lizards or frogs are that way. But she came in, waited till she came back in to throw up in the living room, and didn't throw up on the hardwood floor. Threw up on the carpet.
Wait a minute.
That's the better place.
99 square feet of hardwood, but there's a rug over here.
Rug right there, and Stacy won't look at it or touch it. She's like, you got to check that out and clean that up. I can't do it. So I did. I take care of all that. I'd be the guy on The Amazing Race with Stacy that would have to eat the bad crap. Mm-hmm. I'd have to eat the maggots or the snails or whatever weird thing, gross thing. I'd have to do that part. But she'd have to be the one to scale the top like of Hoover Dam to grab the flags off a car hanging off a crane because I couldn't do that. I'm like, I don't care if there's a cable attached to me. I just can't do that. Human beings aren't supposed to dangle like that thousands of feet in the air. I mean, I can't do that.
Like that.
But I'll take care of the gross stuff. And I'd have to drive the manual transmission of the car if we were in the Amazing Race because she can't drive one of those either.
Oh,
she never
that's
learned
a
how.
Skill everyone should know.
She never learned how. But she came in and Pippa came in and threw up in the living room, and I'm like, what is that? And we thought it was a snake because it just had that reptilian. We saw the head or whatever.
It was a reptile.
Well, she ate something that upset her, and I got to clean it up. So we still to this day don't know what it was, but it made her sick. But it wasn't clothing. She didn't do stuff like that, which was good. I'm so happy that she doesn't do those other things some dogs do. Speaking of there, we'll have a couple more news flashes when we come back.
My dog's better than your dog. My dog's better than yours. My dog's better 'cause he gets kennel ration. My dog's better than yours.
Kennel Ration Burger has everything dogs need. More protein, more nourishment, less fat than hamburger. And check the label. Kennel Ration's the only burger for dogs, government inspected for wholesomeness. The only one.
My dog's better than yours.
Easy glue, strong enough to hold this man suspended in midair. Bonds almost anything.
A plastic knob, a plastic plug, a rubber boot, a metal brooch, a fishing rod, a cycle grip, model planes and model trains, a doorknob screw, a flashlight case, the broken trim on any car.
And Crazy Glue also comes in a no-drip, no-clog pen.
The country's gone crazy.
Crazy Glue in tube or pen.
Crazy Glue.
At Kmart, Woolworth, Ben Franklin, and Apex Drug.
It's okay if you don't understand what he's talking about. He probably doesn't either. It's VK on the air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online using the TuneIn radio app.
When has that ever stopped me from talking, not knowing what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's VK on the air. That's part of what I do every Saturday. And heck, why not just say it? Every day of my life I do that. Just ask.
Someone's got to fill
half.
the void.
That's my better half. I got another news. From UPI, the Guinness World Records announced a juvenile bar-tailed godwit broke the record. I never even heard of one of those. I thought it was a bad teenager when I first read it. The juvenile bar-tailed godwit broke the record for the longest nonstop migration by a bird when it flew this many miles from Alaska to Tasmania, Australia. This bird. Can you take a guess how many miles that is for this bird to fly?
At least 3,000?
Non-stop. 8,435 miles.
That would be more than 3.
And I'm wondering how they know that. Well, it's going to tell us. The record-keeping organization said the bird, known by tag number 234684, was wearing a 5G satellite tag when it departed Alaska on October the 11th, 2022, and landed in Tasmania 11 days later without stopping a single time for food or rest. GWR said the record was previously set in 2020 by another member of the same species, and this year's godwit broke the record by 217 miles. Eric Wohler of BirdLife Tasmania told Guinness World Records the record-breaking bird probably lost half or more of its body weight during the continuous day and night flight. He said short-tailed shearwaters and mutton birds can land on the water and feed. If a godwit, if a godwit lands on the water, it's dead. It doesn't have the webbing in its feet. It has no way to get off once it lands. So if it falls into the ocean surface from exhaustion or if a bad weather forces it to land, that's the end. So that's how they know that this bird did not land in the water or fall out of the sky. Well, they were tracking it, but that's amazing. That is a long way for a bird to fly nonstop.
8,000
He must have really was late getting home. Mrs. Godwit said, "You're late." "Yeah, but I'm here. I'm here, baby. Come on, give me a break."
That's bananas that it's actually in the Guinness Book of World Record, too.
And they tracked it, so they confirmed it. It's crazy.
All right, I've got the last news. We head over to a Pennsylvania couple who both are 102 years old. Well, congratulations on being centenarians.
That's kind of cool. What else is nice about this story?
Celebrated an even more rare milestone. It was their 80th wedding anniversary.
There we go. Wow.
Robert and Edith May Schaum, who met in high school in 1936.
I love stories like that.
Got married in 1942, celebrated that anniversary on December the 26th. "We hold each other up," Edith May told WGAL-TV. "I guess the secret would be don't go to bed mad," Robert added. The Guinness World Record for longest marriage still stands at 86 years, 290 days. It was set by Herbert and Zelmira Fisher, whose marriage lasted until Herbert Fisher's death in 2011. Sounds like this couple is now on the backside trying to catch up.
Don't go to bed mad, just go to bed.
I gotta make sure I put that on a piece of paper and hang it somewhere in my house.
But it gives me the warm fuzzies when I hear stories like that.
It does.
Now, you and I have been married more than once. Let's just say that. I don't have to get into how many times. But you and I both, and a lot of people, others of us, we hope, we've learned from past mistakes and relationships.
Right, I want to make all new ones.
Yeah, we'll make all new ones, but we've learned not to repeat the same. And now, with me now, it used to be, when you're young, you got a girlfriend in your teens or your 20s or your first spouse or something, you're younger, you don't know what the heck you're doing. Mm-hmm. You haven't matured properly anyway. I remember fights or an argument or something lasting for days, maybe a week. It's like, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to give you the cold shoulder for a whole week. That doesn't really help.
No.
You don't know that at the time. But now that I'm older, an argument with us or a disagreement, if it gets past the point of, it's a really kind of a big disagreement, it's a 10-minute, 15-minute argument discussion, and then you know what? Then it's over. And we're like, well, okay, I'm sorry. And you move on and we're back to where we were. That's how I do it now, and that's just the way it is. And that comes with age and wisdom and learning things.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably say the same thing.
No doubt about it.
Because I don't want that to continue in my life. I don't need that. Well, we talked earlier about 1983 now being 40 years ago. Why not? This is a perfect time to do it. Why don't we go back in time and just visit what was in the theater or what one of the movies was from 1983.
You walk out there and the music starts and you feel it. Your body just moves. There's something inside of you that just clicks and you're gone. It's like you're somebody else for a while.
Her name is Alex. She works in a man's world. She dances in a world of her dreams. Flashdance.
I think it's unfortunate that Irene Cara just passed away not too long ago. A little Flashdance for you there. That's the theatrical trailer. Appropriate that it ends with What a Feeling. By,
What a Feeling.
Irene
That
Cara.
song, when it hit, it was the hottest song. I remember I was just at that point where I had my very first Walkman, and I loved being able to have my little headphones on and disappear into the music, and that was one of the big hits I would listen to.
This won't surprise you, but it might surprise a few since I'm love nostalgic stuff and older stuff. I have never seen Flashdance.
Me neither. I know all the songs
Wait
from
a minute,
the album.
You haven't? I thought I was the only one that didn't see the film.
No,
I just didn't.
My
see
mom
it
and dad
for
were not
some
taking me
reason.
to an R-rated movie.
Well, I was at the point where I was in high school and I could go see one, but I just didn't go see that. That'd be another one of those where I'm like, hey, can you come and get Alan and take him to see Flashdance? Okay, I will. I was old enough to drive, and
What
you
if
weren't.
they card him at the theater? Why don't we be stuck with him?
Is it rated R, really?
Wasn't Flashdance rated R?
I don't know. Well, let's find out. There's a way I can look.
As a kid, I knew the music was great. I never had a reason to go see it. I knew.
Yeah, same here.
But then, I don't know why as an adult I haven't gone back and just filled that little crevice of nostalgia.
Me either. I mean, and I've done that with older films that I didn't get to see at the time.
Yeah, there's a lot I've done.
I went for years, never saw Footloose. I didn't see Footloose either. And I finally watched it. I'm like, okay, don't see what the big deal is about, but I guess the music's good, I guess.
That was another movie that survived because of the soundtrack.
And they remade it and just filmed the remake in Hackworth here in Georgia. And
the remake wasn't good.
Flashdance was rated R, restricted under 17, not invented without parent or an older guy that can drive a car. And take Alan to the movie.
Do you have a friend?
Alan, what are we going to get on the way to see Flashdance? Can we get McDonald's on the way?
No.
Want a Happy Meal? You weren't that young. You weren't like a toddler.
Can we see if somebody buy us some beer? Can we get some beer?
Hey, Barry, can you buy me a Playboy magazine? No, Alan, I'm not going to buy you one. I'll just let you borrow one of my issues. That way you don't be out any money.
Reach under the seat.
Just don't fold the pages or something. Don't bookmark it and stuff like that. Yeah, Flashdance. One day I'll watch it. I think we should watch it sometimes just for the heck of it. I will eventually see it. I mean, I must be
as iconic as that movie is. You know, the song, the vision of the water splashing.
The way you just said about the songs.
Yes, we both owe it to ourselves to watch it.
And what do we say, Jennifer Beals? I haven't seen her. So I just recently saw her again on the Book of Boba Fett as a cantina. Brothel owner, I guess, on that planet. I don't know what she was exactly, but was she killed when the place was blew up? I think it killed her character on Boba Fett, didn't it? Didn't someone set off a bomb?
Yeah, they had the suitcase bomb.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate. But she was like a superstar. Now, wasn't she in? I did see her in the movie with Sting. It was the Frankenstein movie. What was that one called? Where it was it was The Bride.
The Bride, yes.
The Bride. It was a new twist on Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. And I thought it was interesting. And I think the guy that directed, I think Ridley Scott's brother, Tony Scott, that directed Top Gun, directed The Bride, I think. Is that one of Tony Scott's movies?
I don't know. Not off the top of my head.
The Bride. I'm the walking IMDb, but sometimes I have to check my memory and see who directed The Bride. Riveting Radio. Nope, I'm wrong. It was Frank Rodham.
I have no idea
Why
who
did I
that
think
is.
Tony Scott directed that? I thought Tony Scott did direct some kind of horror film like that. Let me see why. Everybody loves it when I'm looking up stuff on the air because I'm like, Tony Scott, unfortunately, committed suicide. Ridley Scott's brother. He jumped off. Didn't he jump off the Golden Gate Bridge or one of the bridges in Los Angeles and killed himself?
If it was Golden Gate, that would be San Francisco,
or one of those bridges out there in California. But he directed. What is the movie I'm thinking of that he directed that was kind of more of a? That was, I thought, kind of a horror, really. Oh, The Hunger with David Bowie. That's what he directed. That was his first film. I think it was a vampire-like movie or whatever from 1983. That's why I was mixing him up.
It happens.
Tony Scott's had quite the resume. The Hunger, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2. He directed that. He directed Days of Thunder with he must have liked Tom Cruise.
Someone did this. And I don't remember which magazine, but they charted Ridley Scott and Tony Scott. And they charted where they had, and it was like when one brother had a hit, the other one was going to have a flop. And it's almost like they alternated. So if you plotted their movie history, and yet between the two brothers, iconic films between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean both of their catalogs were so diverse. Mm-hmm. Then he directed The Last Boy Scout with
which is great.
Bruce Willis. True Romance. He directed that. Was that?
Did he
with
direct
James
Enemy
Garner?
of the State? And
Crimson Tide. About
Crimson Tide.
The Fan. The horror film with the suspense film with Wesley Snipes, I think. Enemy of the State. Yep. And he did Spy Game, Man on Fire.
Spy Game is great, by the way, with Robert Redford.
I never
and
saw that.
It's Robert Redford and
Domino with on 2005.
Oh my God, what's his name? Brad Pitt. If you've not seen Spy Game, that's a good one. That holds up over time too.
2006, he directed Deja Vu. I never heard of that.
That's another Denzel Washington with caught in a time loop.
Tony Scott's last two films he directed was The Taping of Pelham 123 was
a remake.
2009, and then he directed Unstoppable in 2010 was his last film. Now he produced The A-Team, the remake with Liam Neeson. He produced that, but he did not direct it. Yeah, I don't know why I went down the Tony Scott route.
I think
there,
Tony Scott tended to be more of the action kind of movies,
and mainstream kind of
where
stuff.
Ridley Scott could do action, but he was more of the high-minded, more artsy,
Alien, Blade Runner stuff. You know, I guess I'd have to if I had to pick two of them. I'd pick. I was more of a Ridley Scott movie guy, but Ridley directed some movies that I really didn't care for too. You know?
True,
but they both like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is in Legend, and that was Ridley Scott's movie. Speaking on there, we'll come back with more. We'll take a break.
I'm starved. Got any pizza in the freezer? We make fresh pizza. That's complicated. Not anymore. We use pizza in a skillet from Chef Boyardee. You really make it fresh in a skillet? Sure. Everything comes in the box, and you make it on top of the stove in just 15 minutes. Just spread the dough, then add the sauce and shredded cheese. Making it fresh makes it delicious. Mmm, delicious. And so fast. Pizza in a skillet from Chef Boyardee. Cook delicious homemade pizza in just 15 minutes.
Mr. Peanut is asking people to say, please pass the Planters because Planters pleases 3 times fast.
Please pass the Planters because Planters plants. Please pass the Planters, pleases, because Planters please.
Please pass the Planters because Planters please.
Please pass the Planters because Planters please. Please pass the Planters.
Planters peanuts are not only delicious, but they're packed with protein. That's why when it comes to snack foods, nothing pleases like Planters.
Please pass the Planters peanuts, please.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBAJ. It's a new year, 2023, but you know what I'd like to do right now is take a look back what happened on this day in history. January 7th on this day in history. Today, on this day in history, 1927. Now, that was a long time ago, and I didn't know it was this long ago that this happened. 1927, the Harlem Globetrotters play their first game in Hickney, Illinois. And I didn't know that they were that old of a group that started back then.
You know what's so cool about coming full circle with that story? For the last few years with Emerson with the Lake Point Champions Center, they've launched their world tour, which they go around the world.
Yeah, they still
at
do
Emerson, and my company was asked to film their debut this year, so we just put the promo video together.
And we actually
them at Lake Point.
And we did. We every time they come into town here at Emerson, that we run spots here at WBHF.
It's amazing.
And I'm a big fan of theirs.
I'm blown away that we have an affiliation through this station in this community with the Harlem Globetrotters,
who we watched as kids in
back on the Wide World of Sports when they came on. They were going to do a basketball game on the what in the wide world of sports,
and I
loved it
as their cartoon
and the
on
cartoon.
ABC.
And the one time that they crossed over with Scooby-Doo.
That's right. Everybody crossed over with Scooby-Doo at one point. Today on this day in history, in 1929, Buck Rogers, the sci-fi comic strip, first appeared in a newspaper.
Wow.
Buck Rogers is that old. And the thing that they changed for Buck Rogers, his original story, he fell into an abandoned coal mine, and gases that were coming up from the earth, which they couldn't explain back in 1929 or in the old days, put him in suspended animation. Now they updated it for the show. He was in a spacecraft that he got frozen into and was thawed out 500 years later on Earth. Today, another one, 1929, same year. Tarzan, one of the first adventure comic strips, first appears on this day.
Wow.
1929.
The same year, think about this, the same year as the great stock market crash that brought on the Depression.
They created two heroes that people could look up to and read to distract them from the times.
Wow.
Today on this day in history, 1954, here's an IBM story. Georgetown IBM experiment on this day in 1954. The first public demonstration of a machine translation system is held at IBM's headquarters in New York on this day in history.
Wow.
That's the first time they did it. It was 1954.
I knew it was a long time ago, but dang.
What was the number one on the Billboard chart? Now it's 1973 we're going to look at. 50 years ago on this day, Song by Carly Simon. If you think about it, you might get it.
Oh, is it?
A lot of hits, but this was 50 years ago. The song was number one.
Was the one where he's like, "You're so vain."
That's it. You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you.
Which, ironically, I've never understood that. You're saying that very line. You're talking about him. You think this song is about you, but you're mentioning him.
Right.
Even if it's not about him, he's still in the song.
I don't know if she ever confirmed it, but for a long time, I don't know for a long time, but for a while, Carly Simon dated Warren Beatty, the actor.
Yeah.
And that song, I think, is about him.
Well, you know what? I've heard it, but I think it's not about him now.
It's not about him?
I forgot who she said, but there was someone.
But I could see it being about him because he was kind of that way.
I think that's why everybody just assumed that was true.
Like you walk into a room and you look in a mirror to make sure everything looks okay. You're always so vain.
Still a hit, by the way. You still hear it all the time.
We play it here on WBHF when we play music. 1982. We talked about Flashdance and Irene Cara. Well, also today on 1982, the TV series Fame, based on the film of the same name starring Debbie Allen and an ensemble cast, premieres on NBC television on this day. And I think Irene Cara was in the movie Fame, wasn't she, as well? Yeah, that the show is based on. And what was number one in the box office 40 years ago in 1983? You want to take a guess what might be number one at the box office?
At the beginning of the new year.
I think we said it last week, if you remember, but it was still number one. It crossed over from December.
It opened in the end of 82.
We talked about it. Dustin Hoffman's in it.
Tootsie.
Now, I'm not going to have to report what was number one at the box office for the next few weekends, for the next few Saturdays, because that movie was number one for the next 9 weeks after January the 7th. So
everyone saw it. I saw it in the theater.
That's another movie I never saw until it was on home video. I missed it for some reason. Wasn't Jessica Lange and Terry Garr in that? Yes. They were both in it, yeah.
Yes. And Jessica Lange.
It was a big hit, I will admit it. And another hit song from it, wasn't it? Christopher Cross. What was the hit song from Tootsie? It had a hit song. I'll look it up later. But it was a hit song, and I can't remember what song from Tootsie was.
Didn't Randy Newman do a song?
I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. Today's birthday include Alan Napier, British actor. Does Alan Napier ring a bell with you when the credits of this TV show would come on? Alan Napier as Alfred on Batman, the original television series. It's his birthday today. He died in 1988. He also did a voice in Sword in the Stone, a Disney movie, and a lot of other things. Today is Charles Addams' birthday, American artist and cartoonist, the New Yorker, the Addams Family. He was responsible for the Addams Family. He died in 1988. And talk about a guy, you were talking about Irene Cara and all the movie hits she had, the movie songs that went on to sometimes be more popular than the films were. Today is Kenny Loggins' birthday, American singer-songwriter. He's done a few movie songs, hasn't he, Kenny Loggins? Caddyshack, Danger Zone for Top Gun. Other songs, Your Mama Don't Dance and Your Daddy Don't Rock and Roll. This Is It. I love Kenny Loggins. He has some great songs. And if you've never seen the television series, the streaming television series, Live from Daryl's House. It's Daryl Hall from Daryl Hall and John Oates, Hall & Oates. He does a television series where he invites other rock people that he loves or pop artists to come to his studio, and they record it, and they sit in on sessions, and they both do Hall & Oates songs, and they both do songs by that particular artist together. So to hear Daryl Hall sing part of I'm All Right from Caddyshack, the song, it's good to hear the way they change it up, when they do it on live from Daryl's House, and the Kenny Loggins episode is really good.
I want to circle around. You were right. I had heard two names, and for some reason I got them switched in my head. That I thought it was about James Taylor, the You're So Vain. It was about Warren Beatty.
Okay.
But a lot of people thought, because she had said forever, well, this song is about three particular men who this could apply to.
So
but then later,
it's a merge of three men.
Only said, well, Warren Beatty was sort of full of himself.
Yeah, I've always
so a lot of
heard
people
that.
just assume at this point, well, of the three it could be.
Yep.
Warren Beatty takes. So
How
you were
about
right.
that? Well,
I was thinking James Taylor. That's what I couldn't remember. But
she
James
had a
Taylor
relationship
was the one that
with
was
James
debunked.
Taylor, right?
Right.
Okay. Today is Aaron Gray's birthday. Does that ring a bell with you?
Buck Rogers ties in again.
Silver Spoon, the sitcom
I guess we could
she
do
was
that.
in, yeah.
But she was always.
She was Colonel Wilma Deering.
Wilma Deering.
And she was very endearing to me, too, by the way. I liked her and
Ironic
Princess.
we have two Buck Rogers things in this.
Yeah, and isn't it funny that the show, I wonder if she knew that the comic strip came out on her birthday back when the show came out. Because that show, Buck Rogers, premiered in 1979 on the television. Well, it was a movie first.
Right, a 2-hour movie.
And it became a TV series. Let's finish out the birthdays before we go to break. Linda Kozlowski's birthday today.
Hey, she likes those guys from Australia.
She does. Crocodile Dundee 2. She was in John Carpenter's Village of the Damned, his remake of the old science fiction movie, which I thought was phenomenal. Another great John Carpenter movie. She was in that with Kirstie Alley, and Christopher Reeve was in Village of the Damned with her. If you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a long time, it's really good. Another great John Carpenter movie. Today's Nicolas Cage's birthday. Take a guess how old Nicolas Cage is now.
He's got to be 50.
He's 59.
Oh, almost 60.
59, almost 60. And today is Jeremy Renner's birthday. Hawkeye himself is his birthday
Get well.
today. Yes, we want Hawkeye to come back in his fighting form. It's BK on the air. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more.
We'll return after these messages.
We're lost. My fault, but you... No!
Neither!
Food? Yes, crunchy food. C-3POs.
New Kellogg's C-3POs. Twin rings phased together for a crunchy new force at breakfast.
Yeah, the Force is with us.
A delicious part of this nutritious breakfast.
On Kelly!
More? Of course. How much?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
C-3POs. A new force at breakfast.
The lunar rover the astronauts left. I got it running.
Let's go to the other landing sites to hunt for Tang instant breakfast drink.
Not now. Sit down.
You know how to drive this thing?
Of course.
Not so fast.
Oh, I hope we find Tang. We need a full day's supply of vitamin C.
I want orange flavor.
I want grape flavor.
They're both delicious.
Look out!
This looks familiar.
Oh, we're home again.
You were navigating.
Look, Tang! Why didn't you tell us?
Harlem Globetrotters. There's a little animated theme to the Harlem Globetrotters from, I think it's ABC that ran that back in the 70s, talking about the Harlem Globetrotters. But they're still popular today, but I think they reached their height of popularity somewhere in the 70s or the late 70s.
I'd say definitely.
Just on fire. I mean, in the 60s, too, because I remember my dad remember them in the 60s back when I was born. But talk about an amazing group of people that can handle the basketball. It's just, I see them, I'm like, how do they Scotty would be just amazed from Star Trek. He's like, how do they break the laws of physics? How do they do it?
You know, I remember from the cartoon something else. I thought, wow, why does that guy sound like Hong Kong Phooey?
Well, there's a reason for that.
There
Why
may
does
be.
he sound like the Trash Man on Chico and the Man and Fred Sanford's buddy on Sanford?
When I was a kid, it never occurred to me that one person could be doing multiple voices.
And we're talking about the legendary Scatman Crothers, who was a singer,
who was also
a dancer.
He was Sanford and Son appeared.
Yeah, he was buddy with Fred Sanford. I said that. Yeah, and The Shining.
Amazing in The Shining.
Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Oh.
So, I heard he had a little problem doing the take after take after take that Stanley Kubrick likes to do because he was an older guy. I don't know if he's in the best of health, but he mustered through it. He was doing a great job.
Once you're on the set, you do that, and then you decide, do I want to do this ever again with him? Right. Some actors are like, it was a good experience. I don't care to work with him again.
And then here's what I'd like to do if I had been in a Stanley Kubrick film. If he makes you do multiple takes, which it's a director's prerogative. You're an actor. You do what the director says. That's your job. His job is to direct the film as he sees fit. Barring making you do something that's going to kill you or make you kill somebody else or something, I wouldn't do it. Or unethical, and even then, sometimes people have done unethical things just to get the shot. But I would be curious to know what take did you finally use after my 100 takes that you took of me, Stanley? Was it the second one? Because if it was, why did I do the other?
Right. Well, I needed to have 100 options to make sure that I was...
Well, I just wanted to have enough to choose from. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something in my brain just wanted you to do some more takes. I got a story here about a comet. Let's do the comet story. This is interesting. I always love these comet and these shooting stars and these meteor stories through astronomy. The Green Comet. Have you ever heard the Green Comet?
It sounds like a comic book.
It does. This is from Fox News. A green comet discovered last March will make its closest approach. I'm trying to read this without my glasses again. It'll make its closest approach to Earth this month. The comet C/2022 E3, it's called ZTF, was discovered by astronomers using a wide field survey camera at California's Zwicky Transient facility, the CZTF. There you go. It was already inside the orbiter of Jupiter, it says. Since then, it has brightened substantially and is sweeping across the northern constellation Corona Borealis in pre-dawn skies, according to NASA. The agency notes that it's still too dim to see without a telescope, though an image from December reveals its bright light in a short, broad dust tail and faint ion trail. The comet will be its closest point to Earth, or to the sun on January the 12th. And that's coming up, right? Yeah. And the closest to Earth on February 1st. So you'll be able to see it with the naked eye at that point at night. NASA notes that the brightness of the comet is unpredictable, but that by then it could be only just visible to the naked eye in the night skies. Observers in the northern hemisphere will find the comet in the morning sky as it moves swiftly toward the northwest during January. It'll become visible in the southern hemisphere in early February. The comet isn't expected to be quite as much of a spectacle as Comet Neowise was in 2020. I don't remember Neowise Comet. Do you remember that one?
Me neither.
But I remember Halley's Comet. I saw it. Mm-hmm. We were in North Georgia back at the time, and we were on the top of the mountain in North Georgia, and there was absolutely zero light pollution when I was in North Georgia that time. And we looked up in the sky, and there it was. Did you see Halley's Comet when it was here?
Yes, remember we talked about this. As a kid, I was assuming it's supposed to be sweeping across the sky. I'm like,
it was
it's
sweeping,
just sitting right there.
Yeah, but it looked like a painting.
Yeah,
it was just like a matte painting. It's really cool. I'm like, is that fake? Is that special effect?
It almost felt like it wasn't real.
It was beautiful, though. I'm like, look, I'm looking at a comet. How often do we get to do that? It was fake, but I don't remember Comet Neowise. It says it has this one, the Green Comet, has a full orbit. It has a full orbit of around 50,000 years, according to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Meaning, the last time this comet, the Green Comet, came close to Earth was when Neanderthals roamed the planet. Well, I'd argue that there's a few of those left, too, when I go away. Family get-together. Check with your local planetarium now, by the way, if you want to see it. Now, here locally would be the Tellus Science Museum here in Cartersville, or check with your local one if you have one near that has maybe a planetarium or a huge, one of those huge, gigantic nuclear-powered telescopes where you can see just about anything. But here locally, go to tellusmuseum.org. That's TELLUS museum.org to check it out if you want to maybe see if they're going to. They've got to have it set up. They always keep track of it at the TELUS, don't they? Have stuff like that.
They've got a telescope that maps the sky that's linked in with NASA as one of the really official tracking agencies to look for meteorites and comets and anything else that's in the night sky. So it's part of that network.
I think stuff like that is cool. I was able to go sometimes just above Cartersville here from where I used to live when I'd hear that there was a meteor shower that night. And I would get up I'd get back up at 2 a.m. If I had to go to work next day, I'm like, I got to set my alarm. I'm going to go to bed early, but get up at 1 a.m., drive up north of Cartersville, go out to where there's just an empty field up Highway 411 up here just above us. Can't do it anymore now because there's a subdivision up there, but they're still adding stuff. There was no light pollution, and I'm like, oh, man, I was just sitting on the back of my truck and just watch the meteors fly through the air whatever night. And then I go back home, go to bed, and get up and go to work next day. To me, it was worth it. I'm like, how often do I get to see this? It's not. I didn't do it every time, but I thought it was cool.
I have every one of the full blood or lunar eclipses. I try to stay up and watch it, even though I'm like, I got to get up in a couple hours.
But
it's just a neat
fascinating, though, and it's worth it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is worth it. Well, 1983 is 40 years ago. Let's visit 1983 in the theater again here at BK on the Air.
Return of the Jedi. From the desert fortress of Jabba the Hutt. Jedi. To the Death Star of the Galactic Empire. To the forest city of the Ewoks. This is the climactic chapter in the Star Wars saga. Remember the Force. Rejoice in the triumph. Return of the Jedi. Rated PG. Now playing at a theater in your galaxy.
hard to believe sometimes that was 40 years ago. And I'll tell you a little story about Mom was going to take me to drop me off. You could do that back then at the theater in Gadsden, Alabama, to see Return of the Jedi on opening day. And she had to go shop or do something. And I knew the movie started at like 1 p.m. in the afternoon or something. And I looked at my watch, and it was 11:45. It was almost 12 o'clock. And I'm getting mad. I'm like, Mom, movie's going to start. It starts at 1. You don't understand. I don't want to be late for this movie. Be quiet. I'm shopping. We were just half a mile from the theater. It's going to be okay. just be quiet. Okay, another 10 minutes goes by. Mom, okay, we need to get going. You need to get me to the theater. I don't want to be late to see this movie. Will you shut up? I told you we're only half a mile from the theater. You're going to get there on time. Be quiet. Okay. Another 15 minutes goes by. We're still in this dang store. She's looking at clothes and stockings and crap, that I don't care anything about. Mom, I said, she goes, if you say that one more time, we're going home and you're not going to see it. I'm like, okay. That's all it took to shut me up, because I was like anxious. I'm like, you don't understand. This is Return of the Jedi. It's like, I got to go see this. It's the third film of the Star Wars trilogy. I can't be late. Even as a kid, I like getting to the theaters sometimes an hour early, because it's the experience. I don't like to walk in the theater and just make a beeline right for the auditorium. I don't want to do that. I want to go to the theater, walk in the front, get my ticket, look at all the posters on the wall from the upcoming films, look at things, get that whole smell the popcorn and everything cooking, and the pretzels and the everything they got. I want to check out the lights, the neon, the curtains, and everything. And I want to get my food. I want to get the popcorn and the drink, and I want to walk down the aisle, look at more posters that might be on the wall. Oh, look what's coming out. That's a cool movie. What's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom will be coming out just next year, 1984. That's the sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm looking forward to that. So I get down, sit down in my seat. Start chomping on my popcorn. Back in those days, you and I know that before the films and the trailers started, in the old days, at least the theater I went to in the 80s, there were no commercials. They didn't play commercials for local people. They might have in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles.
I got so mad
here.
when they started putting commercials. I love previews.
Yeah, previews are fun.
But I don't need 3 minutes of American Express.
No. Coca-Cola.
I'm not home. I'm not on TV. I want to watch just the trailers.
Isn't that why we go to the theater? Get away from commercials? Not anymore. But no, the movie trailers, yeah. And don't skip trailers. And I don't get there like, let's get to the theater. Come on, let's go. Oh, they'll have 15 minutes of trailers. We got time. I'm like, no, you don't understand. The trailers is part of it. I want to get there early. I don't want to be the schmuck that walks in front of everybody else to sit down like the people still do to this. I'm convinced those people, when I see people like that coming into a theater after the credits for the film have started, and it's several people, it's just not that one random person. I'm looking at them, I'm like, I bet they're that way about everything. I bet they're late to dinner. I bet they're late to work. I bet they're late to the company function that they're doing. I bet they're late with everything and just didn't consider it. And open your food before the film starts. Don't be sitting there and crinkling a Snickers candy wrapper.
That's the worst. Plastic cellophane. Here's the problem. I'm like you. I have to have movie theater popcorn. Stop it.
That's either somebody opening something or
it's
fire.
It's nearly justifiable homicide.
It really is, or at least
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would like to play for you what was taking place prior to my client jumping over the chair.
Well, the trial is ended. We, the jury, find Alan J. Sanders not guilty of beating that guy up for opening that Snickers bar during the film.
But I'm like you. I got to get the popcorn. The thing is, if I get there too early, I have often finished the popcorn before the movie starts.
Have some left.
Because if it's in front of me, I can't just wait for the movie to start.
Right.
I'm eating it. It's my favorite snack food.
There is a process that has to be followed. There's things that we expect, and that's the way you do it. So, yeah, Return of the Jedi, 40 years ago. And we saw it. And we did something that was kind of controversial. We shouldn't have done this. But our theater back in the day would play the national anthem at the beginning of the film. A lot of people stood up and put their hands on their hearts like they should. Like they still should today.
Like you should.
Stand for it. We didn't do that. We were teenagers. We were naughty. But when the Star Wars theme started, we stood up, put our hands on our chests, and we thought it was clever and funny, but a lot of other people didn't. So
the rest of the theater did not.
We sat down and watched the rest of the film in silence. We thought it was fun. We're teenagers. What do we know? Teenagers don't know nothing.
Everything. Just ask them.
That's right. Skulls full of much. BK on there. Well, I'll come back with Visit More of 1983 and 1973 as the program goes on.
The galaxy explodes. The rebels return. You can relive it all with Kenner's Star Wars Return of the Jedi collection.
Rebel attack squad ahead.
New Imperial shuttle. You have to put it together. Batteries not included. Action figures each sold separately.
After him. Excellent, Lord Vader. Death Star signaling. Ring up. Prepare to land. Landing gear down. Ramp engage. This battle station better be ready or... Yes, my Emperor.
New Imperial shuttle. Action figures sold separately. From Kenner's Star Wars Return of the Jedi collection.
In a Ford Model T, you can depend on just about everything, except the weather. In a Ford Pinto, you can make your own weather. Pinto's price is so low you can afford a sunroof, air conditioning, a rear window defroster to make the weather inside your Pinto as dependable as your Pinto. The economical little Pinto. Base sticker price $24.42, excluding dealer prep, destination charges, title, and taxes. At your local Ford dealer.
I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long.
Yeah, a little Carol Burnett there for you from the CBS series of the same name, Carol Burnett Show. Alan, did you guys watch Carol Burnett Show growing up?
Yeah, definitely.
You did?
Almost all those variety shows, Tim Conway Show, Harvey Korman Show, Carol Burnett Show.
Did Harvey Korman have a show?
Did they have the Harvey Korman Show?
No, I know Tim did. He spun off, but his didn't.
Maybe
last
it was
for a
Harvey
season.
Korman on.
Harvey Korman. Yeah, I think he was on Tim Conway.
Show.
Yeah, Tim Conway spun off and did his own show called Tim. It had a big Tim on the stage, but his didn't last. I think, not even a season or maybe a season. And I think he went back to the Carol Burnett Show. But Carol Burnett was a funny show. I mean, you got everything. You got sitcoms in the middle, which was their little skits that they acted out, and then you had whoever's guest was on there. It was just a typical variety show format, and Carol was the queen of the variety show. It started in the late 60s and ran all the way up to either the late 70s or 1980 or whatever. I don't know if she made it to 80 or not with her into the 80s in the decade. But it was a fun show. I have a story here from MeTV, and it starts out.
I know the answer.
One of Carol's earlobes is longer than the other, and I knew kind of about this.
I know it now.
I didn't know this was the result of something that she would do. And some people, if you're savvy on television, you know the reason that this might be the reason that one of her ears is longer. If you're a fan of Carol Burnett when it was originally on between the air, here it is. Here's the years right here, 67 to 78. And did you know Leonard Nimoy appeared as Spock on one of the episodes in like 2 or 3 seconds at the end of a skit for a punchline? And I show you how to break it. It involved her being married to the Invisible Man. It was a skit they were doing, and it was really funny. She ran to 1978. You know how big of a role the studio audience played in the Carol Burnett Show. The endless amounts of laughter that was carried through millions of television screens every week, and that live feel was the heartbeat of the show throughout its run on television. While most tuned into the show for the laughs surrounding Carol Burnett and her guests and the sketches, they weren't the only reasons a fan would want to be in the studio audience. When Burnett took to the stage, often in a bright and loud show-stopping outfit designed by Bob Mackie, and this guy, he designed costumes for countless of people. Cher, every time you see Cher in one of those flamboyant dresses, that's Bob Mackie. He did the costumes for and the dresses for Carol Burnett too. Carol generally gave the audience a preview of what was coming up that night on the show, along with which celebrity guests would be featured. That's what she'd do in front of the audience to kind of warm them up. She herself, though it wasn't originally part of the plan, would warm up the crowd and take their questions. Not long after the show began, the interactions between Burnett and her audience became a segment of its own on every episode, as Burnett told stories and answered questions, which, of course, varied from episode to episode. And the timeless show that featured Tim Conway in the dentist sketch, widely considered to be one of the best of all time with him and Harvey Korman. He always busted Harvey Korman up, too, all the time. He just broke all the time because he couldn't help it. Burnett was asked, "What time are you on in Chicago?" Burnett wasn't really sure herself, but thankfully another fan in the audience was able to give her the answer, which she happily relayed back in front of him. I thought that was funny. Now, for the next question, Burnett had a better answer. A fan asked her why would she often be seen pulling down on her ear when she was on screen at the end of the show. Carol Burnett said, "That's a signal to my grandmother, who raised me. When I first went to New York and had my first job on TV, she said, will you say hello to me? She said, I explained to her that we're not allowed to say hi, Nanny, on television. So we worked out the signal of pulling on the earlobe, which meant, hi, I'm fine, your check is on the way. Burnett told the audience, and they laughed. Now, while telling the story to her audience, Burnett revealed her left earlobe was measured by a writer from Life magazine and that it had actually stretched a little longer than the other, and their guess is from pulling it over so many years. Wow. See, I knew that she did it, and I knew the reason she did it because I'd seen an interview with her, but I had no idea that it actually affected the length of her earlobe after a while.
I didn't know where you were going when you teased it, but I suddenly remembered it's the second you came to the story because I had heard this as well, and we need to tie in our good buddy Pat McCormack because he sent me a message when I was helping him get his podcast questions answered. He goes, "I'll tug my earlobe for you." And I guess he was waiting to see if I was like, what the hell does that mean?
Well, Ellen's not going to get this.
I was like, oh, that's awesome.
You got it.
And he's like, you know what that means? I was like, well, only if Carol Burnett was telling the truth. And he goes, okay, well done.
See? And he goes, you and I are friends for a reason. I knew that.
But honestly, I don't know how my brain fired in the right order to be able to pull that up when Pat McCormack said it because I was like, pull my earlobe. I'm like, oh, Carol Burnett.
But did you know her earlobe was longer because of it?
I didn't know it was longer.
I did learn from this.
I only knew why she did it, and I knew it was like code for Granny.
Well, she said every time I was on TV, I'd find a place to do this when I was on camera so that she would know that I was thinking of her. And Burnett clarified that she only pulled on her ear when she was on TV. That's the only time she did it. So, and I don't. She said she tried to get it in every chance she got. Well, me growing up, I only saw her do it at the end of the show. Because I'm like, okay, and she finished the song. I'm so glad we had this time together that you heard me play there. And at the end of the song, she'd look at the camera, pull her ear, and then the audience would clap and it would go off. So there you go. That's where that's where the classic Mama's Family sketch was from. Was Carol Burnett turned it into a complete sitcom, and I'd forgotten how many people showed up on Mama's Family as part of the skit, as part of Eunice's family that were related to her. Betty White was her sister that would show up from time to time. I think Dick Van Dyke showed up on a Mama's skit one time, Mama's Family skit, on Carol Burnett, not the TV show. But I think Betty White and Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman reprised their roles as Eunice and Ed on Mama's Family for a few episodes, just popped in there to visit her. Vicki Lawrence, as
I had, when I saw Mama's Family, I had no idea how young Vicki Lawrence was.
Oh, yeah, she could play an old grandma mama perfectly.
She did a great job with that character.
She really did, because she looks and acts nothing like that in her interviews. In fact, when she got the job, I think on Carol Burnett, she was really young. She had red hair like Carol Burnett, and some people said, you could be her younger sister. The way you guys look, kind of. And I don't know if that was the reason they cast her on the show, but I think she was happy. She was over the moon. She got cast in the show.
Oh, yeah.
And started. But Roddy McDowall, guy that played Cornelius in Planet of the Apes, classic British actor. He was on a Mama's Family skit with them as her relative, her cousin that had moved to England.
He was on every television show at one point as a guest star.
And he was great. The great Madeline Kahn that we all love and think is funny from Young Frankenstein and countless other funny movies. She showed up once to train Eunice how to act. She was playing an actress, a theater actress, coming to tell Eunice and instruct her on the finer arts of acting.
Now that we have laid our foundation, let's soar from it. In our circles, in our circles, in our circles, in our circles. Let me enjoy my newfound liberty. Let us be children. Oh, Hannah, be a child with me.
Oh, my lady, you fly before me as on wings.
Hannah, rejoice with me. Let me in my hungry gladness drink in the free celestial air.
Your jail has been extended but a little. Why, the walls are barely covered by those trees.
Someday I will escape this jail and be free of Elizabeth's despotic sway and shall see my beloved Scotland again.
Fond, fruitless wishes.
And it was hilarious to try to watch Madeline Kahn's proper way that she was playing the person talking like this, the shaky voice, interacting with country redneck Eunice, trying to teach her how to
No,
emote.
we don't do it that way.
Oh, you've got to see it. I'll play you the. I may bring the thing up later on here and play it. We got time because I got to squeeze a lot in. We're running up to the tail end of the program here, and we're still talking about 1983 and 1973 as being 40 years ago, and then 50 years ago for the other. Let's do that. I think I got time before the next break. I may have to click it into the break, but let's go back in time and visit just a few. What was playing on the radio back in 1973, which was, oh my goodness, not 40, but 50 years ago.
Free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Very superstitious. Writings on the wall.
50 years ago.
Oh, can't you see the morning after? It's waiting right outside the storm. Jokers to the right, here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you. And even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey. Everything will bring a chain of love. We're drumming my bed with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly. I've been really trying, baby.
50 years ago. Songs from 50 years ago, 1973.
That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That's the night that they hung an innocent man. Smoke from the water, fire in the sky. Smoke from the water. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing a song. Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time. Are you gathering?
A lot of songs from 1973 just coming in and out. We're going to talk about them all year. It's BK on the Air. But we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, I'm going to play a few more things from the past, and I might have a few more stories since it's 2023. A lot of new stuff going on out there, and a lot of classic stuff, too. It's BK on the Air.
I made $50,000 in the stock market today. I had twins. I went to the poor farm. I'm on Millionaire Acres. That's life.
The game of life. The game of life. You will learn about life when you play the game of life. First you start out with 2,000 and a car.
I got a car.
You got a car. Then you may go straight to college just to get a lot of knowledge.
Harvard.
Or to business if you think you'll go as far.
I'll be a star.
You may go far. The game of life. The game of life.
Pay me. I'll get revenge.
You'll get revenge.
I've got revenge.
Got revenge. Milton Bradley makes the best games in the world. So play the game of life.
That's life.
When you're hungry for really good candy, there's nothing like the great taste of Heath. Crispy, crunchy almond toffee covered with real milk chocolate. A taste so good, it speaks for itself. There's lots of great chocolate-covered crunches in every bite. And that means it's impossible to sneak a bite.
The great taste of Heath, it speaks for itself. The great taste of Heath speaks for itself.
Gonads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air. You know, it's New Year's was, last weekend. I may be a little late with this, but I did want to do it because we just didn't have time last weekend. Having a MeTV quiz right here that I want to give to Alan. Sometimes we do quizzes. I actually did this one already. And I didn't do that well on this one because it's just about some things about on this one that I did not get and do not know. From MeTV. It is called, the quiz, Are These Fun Facts About New Year's Eve True or False? So it's just a true or false. So you got a 50-50 chance on this one. Bringing in the new year, let's take a look at some of the fun facts about New Year's Eve.
I'm not
which
prepared.
Was a week ago. You're a week after New Year's and you're not prepared.
No, I wasn't ready for this. You didn't tell me we were going to do a quiz.
When
you told me we were going to do a quiz, we didn't.
Pop quiz.
I guess so.
Decide if it's true or false. Good luck.
Just come in and I did not come prepared.
It's all right. Sometimes when we get pop things. First of all right. Setting off fireworks is a New Year's Eve tradition because it's said to scare off evil spirits. You don't want any evil spirits following you into the new year, do you? Yeah, of course not. Is that true or false? The reason that we set off fireworks.
It sounds true, so I'm going to say false.
So you're using that kind of logic here in the new year, 2023.
Right.
You're going to try that. You're going to say false.
Uh-huh.
You are incorrect. That is true. Your strategy failed.
No, honestly, my life is working exactly as it always has.
So you're starting out 2023 completely the same, Alan, as 2022.
Every time I think I figured something out, nope.
Well, it's a true or false, so it's a 50-50. Next question. A ban on fireworks in 1907 is why we now watch a giant New Year's Eve ball drop. That's the reason. Is that true or false, that statement regarding New Year's Eve?
I'm going to fail this. I'm going to say false.
You're going to say false. No, that's true. You're wrong. But look at it this way. If you get all these wrong, that's 100% wrong.
I am going to be 100%.
So let's look at it that way. In 2023, you're starting off the new year. I'll have
Literally,
to tell you
they've banned fireworks across the country. And
well,
so they
at
said,
least
well, we
in
need
New York,
something
I
to
guess,
drop.
so I don't know. Because I know that. That's weird. But
I wasn't thinking about New York.
It doesn't specify location. And I think that's the first place the ball dropped, right, is New York. That's where they started it, I guess.
Big Apple.
And then everybody else copied
it. It wasn't a ball, though. Wasn't it the... Oh, maybe they changed it to an apple. I can't remember.
Well, anyway, you got the question wrong.
I'll just make it all up. I'll be wrong like everything else so far.
The most common... Is this true or false? The most common resolution people make is to make more money in the new year.
False.
Is that true or false? You say false. You got that one right. You know what the number one resolution...
Lose weight.
It's always health-related, one way or the other. You're
Lose weight, work out more.
New Year's Eve, true or false questions about New Year's Eve. We're a little week later with that, but that's okay. Here's the next one, true or false. Speaking of resolutions, it is estimated that 40% of resolutions are broken by February. Is that number and month right, true or false?
Oh, definitely by February. I would think it's a bigger number than 40%, though, so I'm going to say false because it's probably closer to like 90%.
Okay. You're right. It's 80% according to these guys, so you're really close on that. All right, you're back on track now. New Year's Eve. Here's the next one. True or false? Dick Clark was the original host of New Year's Rockin' Eve. I knew the answer to this one. I will tell you that.
I'm going to say false.
You're going to say false. You'd be incorrect. You'd be wrong, wouldn't you? He was.
Really?
He started out as the first guy on the show. He was always
Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's.
Until he got replaced, yeah. Ryan Seacrest, I think, is the guy.
Yeah, he's the one that takes over.
Next question regarding New Year's Eve, true or false, from MeTV. Well. The New Year's Eve ball, here's another New Year's Eve ball, is lit up by an estimated 32,256 LED lights.
Now, yes, true.
Okay. That had to be true because if it was a different number, that's too specific of a question. No, that'd be, if you said true, no, it's wrong. It's 32,257 lights.
Yeah, no.
I'd really get mad if that'd be the case. So, yeah, you got that one right. Next question regarding New Year's Eve. The Times Square ball drop in 1907 was the first time a ball had been dropped to signify anything. True or false? That's an interesting question. I wasn't expecting that one. But what's the answer to that one? True or false? The 1907 ball was the first time a ball had been dropped to signify anything.
I got the last one right, so I got to go false so I can be wrong.
Go false. It is correct. You're correct. It is false.
Well, Lordy me. I'm ahead
of the ball to represent something else. What else we don't know, but they used it.
I'm now 4-3. I've got more right than wrong.
You really dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Next question, true or false? Eating black-eyed peas is good luck on New Year's Eve.
False.
No, that's true. That's one of the black-eyed peas and collard greens.
It's supposed to do it on New Year's Day.
No, is it? What says here? That's false.
No. Well, you know what? I was
according
informed of this tradition when I moved to the South. It's entirely possible they got it wrong.
It's according to where you live.
Because I do know that's why, I'm friends with the folks at the grocery store. They're stocked up on tons of collard greens and black-eyed peas because you're supposed to, you start the year with that first meal because it signifies money and health.
Well, and the other thing you're supposed to do, I think, when the clock strikes 12, is you're supposed to open your doorway and blow cinnamon into your front opening of your house.
Yeah,
that's another one. And another one is you clutch money in your either your left or right hand as you do that. Now, Stacy did both of those New Year's Eve for us.
Interesting.
She did it. She won't eat collard greens and black-eyed peas because she hates both of them. She will not eat those.
Maybe this quiz is just I'm interpreting it wrong because maybe when they mean New Year's Eve, like right after the stroke of midnight,
the stroke of 12, yeah,
which is technically New Year's Day.
Yeah. Here's the next one. True or false? Since 1907, the ball has dropped every year without missing any dates.
False.
You say false on that. You're right. In 1942 and 1943, the ceremonies were suspended due to the wartime dim out of lights in New York, which makes sense. Next question, true or false? Yeah, we got time. We're still going here. With all those lights, the ball is estimated to weigh around 6,000 pounds. True or false? Yes, they're talking about the official one in New York, I guess.
Yeah, I had read that it's pretty heavy. I don't know if it's 6,000.
That's pretty heavy.
But I'll say true.
Say true. Incorrect. See, this is another one where I'm like, well, it's off by a lot. So if it's only off by 1,000 pounds, I would have gotten mad. It actually weighs 11,875 pounds.
Oh, wow.
But I got that one wrong.
It's a lot heavier than I thought.
I just guessed on
So I'm
that.
5 and 5 right now.
Sounds like the ball needs to lose weight for New Year's Eve.
I thought it'd be lighter with all those LEDs.
Make it into plastic. Next question. There has been 7 versions of the ball so far. 7.
True.
Versions. You say true? It is. You're correct. There have been 7 versions. Next question. True or false? According to the National Insurance Crime Bureau, New Year's Eve is the night where the most cars are stolen. True or false? What do you think? See, I didn't know this. I had to take a guess on this one because I just didn't know the statistic on this at all.
False.
Are you doing the Gomer Pyle thing? Which finger hurts the worst? You say false? No, it's true. That's true.
Well, now I'm back to 6 and 6.
Sounds like some criminals need to make a New Year's Eve resolution there. I promise not to steal any more cars on New Year's Eve. Now, January the 5th, I'll get back to it. We've got 2 more to go. Let's squeeze them in. About 360 million glasses of champagne are consumed in the U.S. over New Year's Eve alone. 360 million. You say true? True. That's correct. And the last question, New Year's Eve, true or false? New Year's Eve does not have a mascot.
That's true. I don't think there is a mascot.
Incorrect.
There is.
New Year's Eve does have a mascot.
What is it?
Baby New Year. The little baby that wears the little sash.
I guess that makes sense.
I guess officially. Now,
so I was 50-50.
Let's see how you did, lad. You got 7 out of 14. You got half of them.
50-50.
Did you know all these? Do you know all these fun facts about New Year's Eve, or do you need to add studying up onto them to your resolutions? Time to start preparing for the next year's quiz.
You do this for me next year, I'll do a lot better.
So happy New Year! It says that's not. I'll get 51% next year. Hey, that would be better. 51 would be an improvement. Yeah, I had to guess on like 4 or 5 of those because I didn't really know a lot of those. That's an interesting quiz. That's cool. I don't like it when they're too easy.
I guessed on probably 10 of them. I only knew about 4.
10 of them. There were 14 of them. But then again, I don't like them too easy too, where we just you just go through them like this. Like, oh, I knew that. That's too easy. That's too easy.
The only one that I've done that I think you've given me that I was 100% accurate is this a Twilight Zone episode or is this a Hitchcock episode?
And we did another quiz. I don't know if it was on MeTV, but it was one of the anniversaries of The Empire Strikes Back that we did, and you got The Empire Strikes Back. I
got that one, and I think I got the Wrath of Khan one as well.
Wrath of Khan.
We did one on Star Trek 2.
That's right.
Very few of these, though, do I get perfect.
Which was last year, because Trek 2 came out in 1982. And that was one of those years we were visiting, but this year it'll be 1983 and 1973. I think 73 is when I started first. Did I start kindergarten in 73 or first grade? I think it was the first grade. I think I started first grade in elementary school in 1973. That makes me feel. Let me put my glasses back on here.
My brother was born at
my Geritol?
My Silver Centrum. My brother was born at the end of 72, so at the start of 73, I was still only 2 years old, and he was an infant.
So you helped in the raising of your brother, I guess, in some of the babysitting chores.
Technically,
right?
all of them, yeah.
I didn't have that pleasure. My sister, I have one sibling, and we're only like 2 years and 11 months apart, kind of something like that. So I was still too young when she was old enough to be okay, I was old enough too, so we really didn't have that problem. We had babysitters at the same time all the way through. We did get our birthdays. We did get cheated out of birthdays because, number one,
so close together.
Well, plus, my birthday was in February. That's right after January. That's the worst. I don't care what anybody says. February is the worst month of the year on a calendar, weather-wise, everything-wise. Because, I mean, what's February got to offer you? Valentine's Day? Who cares about that?
I don't know how true it is, but it makes sense. That Hallmark said we need a holiday in February because there's nothing else to celebrate.
Sure, and they're inventing them all the time. Today is National Birdseed Day. Oh, tomorrow is National Replace Your Headlight Day. So get a card for somebody who needs it.
And if you're a sports fan, I mean, the Super Bowl's over. You don't have March Madness till March. You're right. February is the worst month of the year.
Oh, my goodness. You know what I completely glazed over? Did I throw it away? Where'd it go? No day of. It's in the trash. Go. Did I throw it away? Anyway, I threw away the National Day of. I don't know why I did that.
Well,
Today's National Harlem Globetrotters Day.
Which makes sense since they debuted.
And today is National Pass Gas Day today, did I notice?
Well, what do you know about that?
I was sitting on the couch last night preparing the show and sitting with my better half, and she's very proper Southern lady. You know, she's very, she's not very dignified lady. And I'm like, do you know what day it is tomorrow? And I'm going to say it on the radio. She's like, no, honey, what? I'm like, it's Pass Gas Day. And she did that, turned her head, looked at me, and I heard her neck going like the guy's head on Raiders of the Lost Ark when he's on the pike. Whoa. She's like, you're not really going to do that, are you? I'm like, are you kidding? Have you not listened to my show? Of course I'm going to talk about Pass Gas Day today.
Also known as Pull My Finger Day. And where'd that frog go day?
So funny. Ran under the chair over there.
It's right over there.
So happy Pass Gas Day today.
My brother went and looked for it.
And you know how they'll explain it on the national calendar, and they're like, so it's National Pass Gas Day. Have fun evacuating your body of that stale air that shouldn't be there. They actually made it a positive thing. It was great. Whether you're a kid of 2 or a old person of 92.
Better from the attic than the basement.
That's right. Pass a little gas today in BK's honor. It's BK on there. I'm going to go pass some gas.
Many of our contestants are chosen from the studio audience for future shows, so if you'd like to be one, write us and close a self-addressed stamped envelope and mail to Tickets, Match Game 74, CBS Television City, 7800 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90036.